Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and if I could take a moment of personal privilege. Later today, astronaut Colonel Ann McClain from Spokane, Washington, will launch to the International Space Station. A proud Spokane native, 1997 Gonzaga Prep graduate, Ms. McClain embodies the adventurous spirit and determination that defines America's astronaut corps. Her return to space as commander of the Crew 10 continues Washington's rich contribution to our nation's space program. As Commander McClain has often said herself, quote, "If you want to go far, go together." I think it's a philosophy that perfectly captures the collaborative nature of space exploration and scientific progress. Now to today's markup. I thank you, Chairman Cruz, for working with us and continuing to consider nominations in 15 bills covering economic development, consumer protection, and science and technology policy. Several bills on the agenda are ones the committee considered in the last Congress, so I'm very pleased to support them again. Many deal with technology and security issues and will boost America's competitiveness. The Securing Semiconductor Supply Chain by Senator Peters and Blackburn, which directs the directs Select USA to investigate state efforts to attract foreign investment for semiconductor manufacturing, which continues on the work that we did in the CHIPS and Science Act. The Manufacturing Advisory Council Act by Senator Peters and Blackburn also creates a forum for manufacturers to raise concerns about the challenges they face. I know I'm particularly excited about this as it relates to fusion technology, since there are 3 fusion companies in the state of Washington, and Senator Risch and I co-chair a fusion council that is looking at how does the United States not only crack through on this, but make sure we have the supply chains for the future. It also includes the Safe Orbit Act by Senators Cornyn, Peters, Wicker, Blackburn, Hickenlooper, Schmidt, Lujan, and Kelly, which addresses the growing challenges of space debris and satellite congestion in orbit. Also something the Pacific Northwest is continuing to lead in with a lot of space companies and moving satellites we're very excited about something called the Otter Pup. You can all check it out. And Senators Cruz and Peters co-sponsored the Astronaut Ground Travel Support Act, which enables NASA to provide transportation for astronauts' post-mission medical needs, protecting consumers from dangerous products that should be a priority for the committee. I am pleased to be we're moving again the Youth Poisoning Prevention Act, introduced by Senators Duckworth, Curtis, Moreno, and the Setting Consumer Standards for Lithium-Ion Batteries, introduced by Senators Gillibrand, Blackburn, Fisher, and Schumer. The committee also should focus on protecting consumers from scams, and the FTC Consumers report shows that 1.1 billion consumers lost. That can't be right. According to the FTC, I have to read this again. According to the FTC, consumers lost 1.14 billion to romance scams in 2023 alone. With a median loss of $2,000 per person, this is the highest of any imposter scam. The Romance Scam Prevention Act, introduced by Senators Blackburn, thank you, Senator Blackburn, and Hickenlooper, thank you, Senator Hickenlooper, will help prevent these staggering losses. I'm also pleased to co-sponsor the Inform Consumers About Smart Devices with Chairman Cruz, which we call the Spy Fridge Bill. It requires that any device capable of recording audio or video be labeled so consumers know what they are bringing into their homes. The Ad for Mental Health Services Act from Senator Sullivan and Peters, which requires major digital advertising platforms to report on their public service announcements related to mental health. Given the growing mental health crisis in our country, I believe this is transparency that is important to know how people are contributing to public awareness. The Sea Turtle Rescue Act, led by Senator Markey, establishes a grant program for sea turtle rescue. The Modernization Access to Our Public Oceans, led by Senator Cruz, which requires NOAA to create a website where fishing is, to show where fishing is permitted in federal waters. And finally, the Improving Flood and Agriculture Forecasting Act, led by Senator Schatz, which expands NOAA's National Mesonet program. In the state of Washington, we have seen terrible floods and worsening wildfires. This bill would improve the environmental data for accurate forecasting and critical for emergency management and saving lives. And I thank the Senator from Hawaii for his leadership on this important legislation. Turning to telecom bills, the Routers Act from Senators Blackburn and Lujan addressing security risks from network equipment made in China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia, and the Plan for Broadband Act introduced by Senator Wicker and Lujan, which would require NTIA to develop a strategy to close the digital divide. I want to thank both of them for working with me on various aspects of this legislation, including making sure that tribal areas and rural areas get the resources they need and to get that right. Now turning to the nominees, I want to say I believe Mr. Kratsios, who's nominated to be the Office of Science and Technology Policy Director, isn't new to the job and isn't new to the Trump administration, having worked in the first Trump administration. I believe he understands the national security imperative related to technology investment. And I believe that in his commitment to this committee to work on the National Quantum Initiative, very important to the state of Washington, that he will continue to make the investments that we need and recognize the importance of the CHIPS and Science Act. On the other hand, I do have concerns about Mr. Meador's nomination to the FTC. When I and several colleagues asked whether he would refuse to carry out illegal orders from the president, Mr. Meador hedged. The answer from any nominee should simply be no, but he hedged. And I think that I just don't believe today that Mr. Meador is the right person for the FTC. We need somebody who believes that they're not just a rubber stamp for the president, but have responsibilities and duties to carry out. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, thanks for working on these important bills, and look forward to continuing to work with you on other important priorities.